Welcome everybody. Your host Matthias, and I have with me Corina Angela. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. And just
Mhm.
before we start, I was admiring the background. I really love the well, is that a real plant or is that because I know those are really
Oh,
the
the
white
orchid?
ones,
The
the
orchid?
orchids? Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not real.
Okay,
It's
we
not.
have some here, but they
Yeah.
notorious for if you overwater them, they die.
Oh yeah, I have several real ones and yeah, if you they're very yeah, very delicate. If you overwater them, they don't like it. And you have to
Yeah.
have room temperature, not cold water. They don't like that either. So yeah.
What
Yeah.
about the one to your right? Is it that a snake plant or variety thereof?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Yes.
variety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
So I have you on because I think we met on Facebook and
Mhm.
you do
A couple years
try.
ago. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, we were gonna do right. We were gonna do
Yeah.
like in 21 we were gonna do and
Yep.
then you moved and then I said
Mhm.
I'll get back to you because you're moving and
Yep.
then we never got in touch
Yep.
and
And
it
here we
was
are.
only until recently I was scrolling through the messenger and then I clicked on it. I was like, well, we talked before, but it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Feels like yesterday, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is time an illusion?
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel the
I
same
mean,
as
don't
you
you
did?
think? I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
I kind of
bizarre
wish
when you think about it.
I went back with the knowledge I have to go back when I was 17. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't do it, eh?
No.
Nah, it's not possible.
Maybe. Yeah.
Um, so were you always interested in because you do I know you tried healing, but were you
Mhm.
always interested in healing and like spirituality and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I think from a very early age, I grew up pretty much on a farm. So, being around animals and being around that lifestyle, just being out in nature and watching things grow and die and heal. And, I mean, watching our cows birth their babies. I mean, it was just this pretty amazing way to grow up, I think,
Hmm.
and just immerse myself in that life. And then as I grew older, just very interested in the body and how the body works and how it heals and so yeah, so just from a very early on, I just always been very interested in that that way that we can heal ourselves. And I've tested it many times on myself. So there you go.
A lot of healers seem to grow up in a well, I think most people grow up in like kind of like dysfunctional families and stuff like that.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that something that's true for you
Yeah.
for you
Well,
as well?
I had a beautiful balance of both. So I had a very dysfunctional mom and dad, right? And then I
Mm-hmm.
have a very stable grandparents. So
Oh
it was
yeah.
that beautiful balance. It was, very chaotic and a little nutty at, the homestead. And then going to the grandparents' house, it was always like, and that's where the farm was. So I spent the majority of my childhood there, and it was always such a beautiful, safe haven to be in. So yeah, but it was very tumultuous at times
Hmm.
at the homestead. Yeah.
I'm yeah, I grew up in a household where I had my parents, but also I had my grandparents. I think that's such a gift that
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of people nowadays have, I guess,
That's so true.
especially when kids are being born later in their parents' life, like instead of the 20s, like in the
Mm-hmm.
30s or late
Yeah.
30s, and
Mhm.
then the chances of grandparents being around are much less.
Yeah, it's slim. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, my mom and dad were very young. I think my dad was what, 19 and my mom was what, 21. So I'm like,
What?
so
Yeah, my mother was like 21 and my dad was
yeah.
like 22 or something.
Yeah.
It's
So your chances
ridiculous
of
stuff.
having grandparents were high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't have as much kids these days. Well, why do you think that is? I mean, I didn't expect we're gonna talk about this, but it's on my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what it
No, go
is?
ahead.
The fertility rate is going down. Is there
Yeah.
something from a healing perspective? I guess in some ways it's good that we don't have as many kids because maybe we can take care of them, but if you don't have enough,
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
society suffers, you know?
Mhm. 100%. I think the majority of families now are, yeah, they're having smaller families because time, the time quality, they're working, the scheduling, I think is very different. Not a lot of, well, I don't know what the statistics are. I don't know what the percentages of stay home moms and dads now, but back
Hmm.
when we were growing, that's what you did. You stayed home to raise the children, and you could have more children.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I think nowadays it's geared towards maybe, having less children, but in some areas, but I don't know. I kind of beg to differ. I mean, yeah, I have 4 kids, so
Oh,
I
okay,
have four
okay.
boys.
And
So,
what
and
you
I just wanted to keep having children. So, yeah.
okay.
But now looking back, if I had to make that decision now, I'd probably maybe have 2. So, yeah.
Really? Okay, because it
Yeah.
was too much. Like it's
No,
a
I
lot of
loved
work.
it, but I'm just saying, like, in society now and where life is now, if I started on my path right now to choose to have children,
Uh-huh.
I would probably, yeah, maybe choose 2. But yeah, when I started back in my 30s, I started having children. So, and I just wanted more and more and more. So,
Yeah,
so
I don't have
yeah.
kids yet, but I'm like, it seems very daunting because I'm in my 30s and it
Yeah.
seems very
Yeah.
daunting now, you know?
Hmm.
But there's healing modalities that are really focused on if you have kids, there's a theory that you pass on some of the illnesses and some of the for lack of a better term, messed up stuff you have about yourself onto your kids. Is that how true is that theory?
I don't think it's that true. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it stems from you, right?
Right,
How you're participating in that. Are you choosing to spread that upon your children?
right.
Um, yeah, I mean, for me as a parent, bringing in children, I was very adamant about I want them healthy. I want, there's certain pieces of me that I wanted to course correct for,
Yeah,
based on my past experiences growing up. So I was very firm for me not to tread upon, the path that my parents tread upon. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Not to
I
make
think
the same
it's,
mistakes. Right.
yeah. So make it, and that was very clear for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I suppose in another way, if you do healing on yourself,
Hmm.
that would inevitably, even if you don't believe that you passed on like genetically or energetically down your issues, the way you are present with your kids, the way you are as a parent, that would change, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the way that you were raised, eh, yeah, I mean, you make that determination of, how you're going to discipline your children, how you're going to
Yeah.
raise all of those things, because what worked in your family and what didn't work, you're going to make
Mm,
those, corrections, I would think, I would hope. I mean, speaking from my own experience, that's what I did.
yeah.
I saw my mom and dad just kind of fall apart and fight and all of those things. And as a child growing up, I'm like, ew, it's like that
Right.
that feels uncomfortable. That doesn't make me feel good, even as
Yeah.
a child. So growing up, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to interject that around my children. So yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot of course correcting and just choosing. I mean, how do you want to raise your children, you know?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
mhm.
It's very important because
Yeah.
that's how we
Mhm.
pass on society,
Yeah.
one person at a time, one baby at a time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think it's so important. But it's up for the parent, you as an individual to make that decision for yourself
Mm.
and what legacy do you want to pass on? So I think that's really I think that's really the focal point of, you start thinking about the next generation.
Yeah.
How are they going to be raised, and how are they going to be as young adults? I mean, I have two sons. I have four sons, and two are in college now.
Wow.
So it's just amazing. So
And the
yeah.
other two are still at home or they're
Yeah,
out?
yeah, they're
Okay.
teenagers, but
Oh
yeah.
man. So you have a lot on your hands still.
What?
You have a lot on your hands. There's probably a lot going on still.
Yeah, well, sorry, I've been talking so much this morning. um, yeah, I mean, I pretty much the hands are full, but not really because they're
Okay.
teenagers now, so they're out doing their thing, and I think when they were much younger, there was a lot of multitasking and a lot to do, but I
Yeah.
loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. It still
Cool.
is. Yeah.
Um, and at last we talked, there was also the fascination with or the interest with Edgar Cayce. How did that
Mhm.
come about? That's very interesting to me
Yeah,
because
that
I've heard
how
things
he
about him, but I don't.
yeah.
I will confess, I don't know that much about him.
You know what? I'm still learning, so
Okay.
we're both still there. I mean, honestly, I grew up in a family that didn't know anything about him or
Yeah.
his teachings or his readings or anything about him really. And along the way, when he came in to my I was just basically in a deep meditation in 2019, and he appeared, and I was just taken back, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, who is this person?" And he said, "Oh, my name is Edgar." And I just kind of looked at him. Yeah, okay. Still, I was just very perplexed on who this person was.
Did you
And
see him? Did you see
yeah,
like
yeah, I saw
visually
him
see him?
very clearly.
If
He
you
was
see
in
a
his
picture of
30s.
him now, if you see a picture of him now online
Yeah.
and the what you saw is it like
Yeah, it's his face. Yeah, like
okay,
it was definitely his face and the way his hair was styled. So yeah, so it was interesting, very interesting. And then his body structure of yeah, it was yeah, I just pretty much saw him. So,
wow.
yeah, it was interesting. But I was
What did he
perplexed because
say?
so I didn't know who this person was,
All
and I
right.
just kind of looked at him like deer in the headlights, and he he was almost pleased with that because I didn't have any preconceived notions of who this person was. So when he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, hi, I'm Edgar," I'm like, "Yeah." And then he goes, "I'm Edgar Cayce." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And all it was quite bizarre, very interesting. But as I'm going through this, all I could grab onto in my memories, like I was like, I could see myself and feel myself looking through my memory bank of like, who is this person? I think I know him, but I don't. And all I could come up with, I just thought he was a psychic or something, and that was it. And so, but he could hear we were telepathically, communicating. So he could see and hear what I was going through. And he was almost pleased with this because I didn't have any filters. I didn't have any, um, idea of who this person was. So
Mm.
he was like, okay, yeah, let's go from there. And then we just have this open dialogue. We just started talking and walking and talking and that's how he came in. And then every morning I would go in and he would, just kind of appear, and I was like, okay. And then he asked
So
me
this would
to,
be in meditation. Yeah, you'd say
yeah,
with God. But
yeah,
when you say
yeah,
you'd walk with him, does that mean
yeah.
you'd have your eyes open and he'd be kind of there
Mm-mm.
or no? Okay.
No, no. So
This
with
would be
eyes
in your mind.
closed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
his
this
eyes
would be okay.
closed. Yeah. So that's how it began in 2019. And I was just fascinated by the whole process. So I started writing. So I'm a channel writer, but automatic writer.
Yeah.
So I'd be writing and just going in and out of this consciousness, really. I mean, that's what I experienced.
Wait,
And
did you do that prior to Edgar Cayce
so
contacting
yeah,
you?
so yeah, so
Okay.
I've been an automatic writer since I was 7.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah, so
okay.
it's been a lifelong
Oh, I see.
journey.
Edgar Cayce
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is she can contact me. She can see me. I'll contact her, I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, yeah, so yeah, maybe backstep a couple. Yeah, I started, seeing things, seeing energy when I was 5. So it started when I
Mm.
was 5, and then I started automatically writing when I was 7. And I would just, they call it downloads now, but I just was receiving information. I would just write these short stories. And my first short story was Puppy in the Pond. And then I would sketch it and just write it, and then I started putting all my writings in this, in this drawer that my grandmother gave me in the den. And she's like, put all your writings in here. I'm like, okay. So by the end of the year, they were just filled with just all
Wow.
these stories. But it was my way of my outlet of creativity, but also of expressing myself. So I really focused on writing as a tool for myself and
Mm.
for self-expression and all of those things. So it started really early on, and then I just expanded from there because there were so many things. Like, I'd be on a playground and I would see something, I would see, um, you know, one of my friends fall off the swing before it actually happened. And so I would go
Oh.
and try to help. And then I'd get in trouble because they would think that I was, pushing her off the swing. I'm like, no, no. So I'd be in the principal's office, sitting there in trouble. I'm like, but I was trying to save her. I could see. So it was, that many, many things happened along the way. And yeah, it just kind of grew and grew and grew from there. And
How how far does
yeah.
that reach when you see a premonition? Does that sounds like a few seconds maybe, but do you have a premonition sometimes about events that will take next week, next day, next week, next month? Do you have any?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Usually I'm about 2.5 months ahead, I guess you could say. Um, but I started tracking it because I'm just very curious and inquisitive, and I always write timelines down. So I'm always,
Hmm.
writing dates and times, and just kind of testing myself to see if things actually come to fruition. But now, speed up till now, I'm 54, and things that are coming through now, it's you create your reality. And I mean,
Right.
once you create it, it's up and out, and then it's permeating out into your life. I mean, and I'm finding this more and more and more, even with this book. I wrote it in 2019, and Edgar and Gladys would talk about things that would happen, 2 years ahead. So going back reading the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, that happened 2 years ago. You know what I
Like,
mean?
would they
So
talk about world events, like what happened with the election,
some and
maybe,
some
or
not. Yeah,
okay.
it's not a predictive book. So because when I was writing the book, I would ask Edgar and Gladys specific questions about certain things, and they would almost segue. It's like, no, we're
Oh,
not going to
because
go.
it's not so
Yeah.
important. They wouldn't wanna
Yeah. It was very
like
interesting.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
give like a let's say that movie Back to the Future, the series. They
Yeah.
wouldn't give like
Yeah.
a sports almanac kind of thing. They're not like that, right?
No, no, and I was very, and for me, I wasn't attached to anything, so I was like, okay, so I'm a neutral observer, so I would just shift immediately. So I would ask them, a question about Atlantis or something, I'd be like, oh, well, what about this? And they're like, yeah, no, we're gonna go over here. I'm like, okay. It was almost like, oh, been there, done that, and we're gonna go this way for the future. Is very interesting, very
So,
interesting.
okay, so they
Mhm.
would avoid any kind of prediction game as
Mhm.
far as world events or anything
Yeah,
that you specifically wanted to know,
yeah.
like a curiosity, but they would tell you about other things maybe in your personal life or
Oh
what's
yeah, yeah.
happening in the collective.
Yeah, yes. All of the
Okay.
above. So this whole process, transference, connect your soul self, was and is it's like a snapshot of my personal experience on that day. So there's a date, there's a time that we started, the end time, there's a title to the entry. There's 44 entries and 28 exercises in the book. And so you get a snapshot of what my process was, what I was experiencing, and then there's a quote, and then there's a dialogue between.
Hmm.
So it's, we're having Q&A. So
Yeah.
this, some questions would come in from me and some questions would come in from Edgar and Gladys. It was just this beautiful tapestry that was created over time. And it took 4 months to write the first book. And you can tell in the middle of the book, the entries get longer, the span of time is longer, and the questions are deeper. And it's just a it's like a process, a step-by-step process that we all went through. It was quite extraordinary. It was really interesting. It was
Did you
really
ever
interesting.
ask Edgar Cayce if he's also at the same time contacting somebody else and
Oh,
writing another
yeah.
book?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. So it's not him like, oh, he's here with me right here, right now, and only me. It's a consciousness, it's that tapping into the frequency, right? So it's a streamline of consciousness. And the more and more people that are awakening and they're meditating every day, and they've been doing it for hours and hours a day or years and years and years.
Yeah.
There's a certain point that you get to where you just really open up, and it's almost like the frequencies are all right here, you're here, and it's almost like, okay, here I am here, and then a frequency comes down and connects with you, and then it's just this beautiful streamline of information that comes through. So it's almost, going out into the cosmos and or galaxy or wherever you go, when you meditate or travel or journey or however, your process is in your practice, and you tap into a frequency, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden it's like, so that's where downloads, that's downloads of information when done on a consistent basis.
Right.
This is what happens, these
Hmm.
energies come in and tap into you to bring forth information for other people. And so that's what I've discovered and really have honed in on. And it's such a beautiful process. And when you're open and ready for it, it's just like it just comes in naturally. It's organic. It, you're not searching. So
Right,
that's the
right.
piece what it's so beautiful, because I had no idea who Edgar was, and I wasn't like searching for, Edgar,
Yeah.
Edgar. No, it was just that frequency on that particular day we connected. And I think
Did
that's
he
what's,
say why?
oh,
Did he say why he contacted?
yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I asked him, in the very beginning in 2019, you know, why? Why
Why
is
me?
this happening? Yeah, why me? But why is this happening? And when
Mm.
I said why me, and he's like, well, why not you? And so through my own personal process, he would take me through these regressions. So he would project these visuals, and when we were connected, and he would show me why. So he took me back to, when I was 5 years old, and he was there in the barn when I was with the cow that just had a calf on my grandparents' farm. And he was there, and he's like, well, I've been with you since you were 5. I'm like, what? So, I mean,
Wow.
these entities, I guess you could say, or spirits or frequencies are with you for a very long duration of time before you're up and ready to receive, right? So it's just fascinating how your guides, let's say, are with you, when you're born, and it might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, it might take 50 years before you meet them, or they connect with you with them, right? So the timelines are different for everyone.
Right.
But when I would ask, he would show me specifically why. And then when I asked him, why this information, why these books, because he asked me verbatim, he's like, Gladys and Edgar asked, can you please write these books for us? I was like,
Right.
well, okay, so why, right? Um, and he said that during his lifetime and when he first began all of his work, his first love was helping children. And I thought that was just so beautiful. He would show me snapshots of, why he wanted to help children heal and
Yeah.
live a better life and all of those things. And when he died in 1945, he was he focused all of his amazing work more adults, helping adults with a variety of different ailments. And so it kind of segued from children, his first initial focus, to
To
adults,
adults.
right?
Yeah.
So through his whole duration of his physical life here, he almost segued away from it. So he wanted these books to really start to focus in on the children for our new world,
Yeah.
and to help the children of the new world. So, and I went,
Mm.
oh, okay,
Wow.
wow. So it's these
Mm.
books, it's a series of these 3 books and more to come.
Oh, there's
And
three
it's
books now. Wow.
yeah.
So
So the 3 books were written in 2019. So in 4-month increments of time. So the first one was written in 4 months, 2019, and then the second one, there was a couple week break, and then there's a second book that was written in 4 months, and then a couple week break, and then there was a third
wow.
one that was written. But it didn't it I published the first one, Transference, Connect Your Soul Self, the end of last year. So it took me 4.5 years to integrate all the information, acclimate to the energy, and go through all the exercises that are in the book.
Is it like a
So it took
spiritual
me,
exercises or is
yeah,
it like,
it's self-discovery. Yeah, it's
oh,
all
okay.
self-discovery exercises. And you can take these exercises on a very foundational level, or you could go deeper. So it's quite extraordinary what you can actually
Hmm.
do and create with all of these exercises.
Could
But that's
you
why
give us an example?
Mhm.
I'd love to. Is it possible to do an exercise?
Yeah, we could do an exercise.
Okay.
Let's see. Um, so I'll kind of rattle off just what kind of exercises, and how about you can pick? How's that?
Okay.
Um, right. So let's see. So the first one, so it's clairvoyant streaming. So clairvoyant streaming is,
Can you
conscious streaming of
can you
information.
define what clairvoyance is? Because I'm not always sure.
So clairvoyance is clear seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. So clear seeing with your third eye. Yeah.
Okay.
So second exercise is activation of the third eye. That's a really intense one. So I
Okay.
probably know.
Maybe not.
Uh, uh, there's an exercise, constrict and release. So what constricts us, our doubt, our ego, all of those things. It's an exercise to release all these things.
Oh, this sounds
Um,
intense too, actually. Or is it
yeah,
intense?
so yeah, there some are really intense. So I conducted a group based on these exercises, and some exercises for the group, we had about 12, I guess 11 or 12 people, and some were, kind of these exercises meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
So some in the group were, just starting out, and some had been, seasoned, for many, many years, and it got to be really intense. So it was really interesting. It was like, oh, okay. So you can start with these exercises. Doesn't matter where you're at, because it does. It meet all these
Mm,
exercises meet you where you're at. So, but you can go deeper and deeper and
right.
deeper with
Can you
these.
can we do the one the constrict and release? I mean
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
Let's do
sounds
that one.
really intense, but
Yeah, yeah.
maybe it helps somebody in the audience too. So
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right,
Okay.
that's not interesting. So what do I have to do?
Here, I'll read.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. And I'm reading out of my book here. So exercise 3, constrict and release. Here's a brief summary and description of this constrict and release exercise. So you can choose a partner, or you can do it by yourself. And
Just hold on a question before
yeah,
I
yeah,
forget.
yeah.
Is this supposed to be in order or it doesn't matter? You can tackle any exercise.
Yes. Yeah, it
Okay,
doesn't.
any okay, okay.
That's it. That's the beauty. I love that question, because that's the beauty of this book. So some people read it cover to cover, page by
Yeah,
page. Some just ask a question and open, and they find their answer, and
yeah.
that's what they focus in on. Some go, every entry they dissect it and just go deep, deep in it. So it's just fascinating. You can you
Because
can start wherever you're at. What?
It's I don't know if you're familiar, of Course in Miracles. It
Yeah,
is
yeah,
famously says a workbook from beginning to end. It's the
yeah.
365 lessons, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
the way you're supposed to do it is go. I mean, some people probably don't do it, but you go from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So so again, this is a reference manual to help you where you're at. So that's
Mm.
how I would kind of, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, dissect it, I guess you
okay.
could say.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
so let's see. Um, so if you are doing this exercise with a partner, you would stand in front of each other and choose who would be partner A and who would be partner B. And if you're doing it by yourself, you're just going to, choose. So have your journal and pen or pencil handy so you can write, sketch, or draw your experience that you're experiencing, or record any feedback that you will have. So you're basically recording. So if you're doing this with a partner, you would record what was happening, taking
Right.
place.
So now in this case, I can just say it or
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So with your eyes closed, begin to release all the tension in your body through the breath. So there's a lot of breathing exercises, so just really closing your
Okay.
eyes, and you're feeling where the tension is in your body, okay?
Mm.
So closing your eyes, taking a couple deep breaths, and really focus in on an area in your body that you feel anxious or sad or scared or painful. Okay.
Let's say my shoulders maybe tense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shoulders. Okay, so that's the next question. Where do you feel it in your body? So you're saying shoulders.
Yeah.
And then you're going back to, can you briefly remember a specific memory that connects to this feeling?
Specific memory.
Hmm.
Yeah. I would
Okay.
say a dinner with family and everybody. There's a lot of people around the table, 15, and I'm not sure what's going on, and I'm afraid that somebody will make fun of me or something, and because they go around the table and grandfather's like the Don, and he says this or that, and so that's probably one of my scariest thing. I mean, it wasn't in bad intention by my grandfather, but I'm rationalizing now, but the way I felt it as a child was very intimidating to me. So I kind of
Yeah.
tense up. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so step 3. So feel that discomfort in your shoulder. So I'm going to gear it towards you specifically. So you're feeling that tension in your shoulders. Now tighten up as much as possible. Like
Okay.
tighten, just focus in on that feeling, and tight, tight, tight,
Yeah.
tight, tight,
Okay.
and breathe with it, and then release it like quickly, and just go. And you're going to be doing this a couple more times. And you really, so this is the part you can go deeper and deeper and deeper until you feel that physical release, because our bodies remember everything, right? Our cellular memory within our bodies will remember
Right.
everything. So the tension, the anxiety, the grandfather, I mean, I would, really just focus in on that and tighten as much as possible. And you're feeling that you're there, you're at the dinner table, just really honing in, very, being as detailed as possible. And then when you release it, it's like, oh, it's like releasing that. And you can just feel the tension flow out of your body. And then you almost feel lighter.
Wow, yeah, I haven't
Isn't that
released all of
amazing?
it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it does each time I
Yeah.
do it, it feels like lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and then it says, when practicing this exercise, you may notice that you are becoming more aware of your body. So it's being more aware of your body, but also aware of all the tension where it was and now it no longer is.
Right.
Um, and then where you're holding the tension within your body and then releasing tension through your breath. So it's all about, the body work, but also your breath. So breath is releasing. So you're constrict. So why it's called constrict and release, you're constricting that memory. It's almost like a self regression, right? But it's a physical and mental, because you're putting yourself in that
Wow.
place in that moment in time, whatever, if it was sadness or anxiety or whatever it was, or pain. And
Yeah.
when you release it, you're not only, releasing from your physical, you're releasing from your breath. So it's like, and then it's out. So it's powerful. I mean, you can, attempt
Mm.
this on a lighter scale, but then you can go deeper, like with deep trauma. I've had some of my past clients work with this on deep trauma and like deep rooted, like severe trauma, and just you could see it float out of their body. It was just
Wow.
amazing. And they would get up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel lighter." Like literally they were taller, they looked taller, they were walking taller, and they looked lighter, it's amazing. It really is amazing. But it can go from there to, oh, my pinky hurts. It's like, oh, ow, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
could be anything. So
yeah.
that's the beauty of these
It's
exercises.
funny
So
because I wasn't so aware of it before, but when you said I'll
yeah,
pick something, but maybe a bit more because obviously we're recording this when we're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about, but I did feel it, and it's something I'm sure it's with me most of the time, but I'm not
yeah,
conscious of it. You see?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now you are. So
Wow.
yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah, there's
So
yeah,
how
so
long do
many
usually
gems.
it depends how it depends I would imagine that it depends how strong the emotion is
Hmm.
that would require
Yeah,
you to go long. Like it might be five
yes.
minutes, might be 10 minutes, might be 20
Yes, or it
minutes.
might be an hour. Yeah.
Oh
See,
wow.
that's the duration of time as well. Whoever is doing this exercise by themselves or with their partner, whoever that partner is, you could take it as deep or as shallow as you want, really, Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
Casey um did he also help you with the then with developing the Trine healing?
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was very interesting. So as I'm automatically writing, I'm also sketching. So there's a
Okay.
lot of sketches in the book, but I started creating, just this triangle. I was fascinated with triangles, I kept sketching and sketching, and then this one day it came in trine. We are the trine. I'm like, trine? What? And I literally had to look it up because I was like, wait, you mean trine as astrology? Because there's trines
Right,
and
right. Yeah, yeah,
it,
Trine. Yeah.
right? And he's like, no, okay, Trine Healing. So then I got the visual of, at the point, it's, Edgar's here, I'm here, Gladys is here. We're the foundation, and the information was coming in this way. And
Right.
then So it was the triangle this way, but then there's another inverted triangle going down. So it
Mm.
was me taking this, all the information, and then bringing it down to earth and sharing it out for other people. So that's the visual that I received for Trine Healing, and that's how we would work together as a team, bringing information in and how I was to share it out. So
So that's
that's
interesting
how
because
that was all created.
the trine is
Mhm.
also the Holy Trinity, for example, is also
Yes,
like a
the
triangle.
power of three. Yeah, yeah. So it could, so that goes deeper. I mean, it's just, yeah, this work is just amazing. You think it's just kind of, okay, got it. And there's like, no, there's more to that. It's just,
I knew
you
this
know?
girl that was really fascinated with triangles, and she had like a
Yeah,
tattoo of triangles
yeah,
on her
yeah.
back or something.
Uh,
Is that something? Are people attracted to it? There's something like deeper about that. It's not just
oh,
like a
yeah.
fad.
No, I think no, there's symbology there. There's symbolic meaning in past lives. I mean, there So if you're so fixate, just transformed by a symbol, I mean, why, right? Go
Right.
deeper into that. Obviously, there's very specific meaning for you individually, and you you wouldn't be attracted to it otherwise, right? So it's the same thing. It's like, oh, I love circles, there's something about that to explore. Why do you love circles so much? So if you start really deep diving in, um, on your own path, and asking those questions, start researching, I mean, you'll just uncover so much information for yourself to better understand yourself. Why, you can just go down so
Mm.
many different paths with that. But I think there's very good reasons for all of us that, we're drawn to certain colors, certain shapes, certain symbol, all of those things are very meaningful for that individual. So yeah, I would definitely say.
I'm just curious, what is because I'm not I don't know how much my audience is familiar with Edgar Cayce.
Mhm.
I what does he say about past life and previous lifetimes and all that? Does he say it's possible?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, So what I've so for where am I? Well, it's funny because I mean I've been on this path for a long time, but also I'm so wildly curious. I mean, I'm just so excited. I'm like a little kid in the candy store. I'm like, oh, So when he would take me and show me different things or regret, like we'd go on this past life regression, it's like, oh, what's that about?
Right, right,
Oh,
okay.
why is that place familiar to me? Why do I, why am I so connected to Egypt and I've never been there before? See,
Mm,
that's an example, right? And so opening up that door and traveling and seeing what you can see and feeling what you can feel, you bring back certain pieces of your past lives with you here and now to not only help you, but it's bringing that knowledge, it's bringing that ancient wisdom with you here and now to help other people.
right.
So I really 100% believe in that. So yeah, for me, personally going
Yeah,
through it, but also, you know, having it, you know, facts right in front of me, like, oh, that's why, you know what I mean? So it's
right.
like, I mean, when the facts are presented and I find certain things that connect the dots, I'm like, wow, you can't make this stuff up. It's like, what?
Yeah. You
I mean,
know,
there's just no way.
the thing I love the most is those documentaries where
Yeah.
they can prove by via evidence as well
Yeah.
because it satisfies both the right and left hemisphere of the brain
Yeah.
in a way
Yes.
because they're able to
Yeah.
to find records that this person actually lived and this actually happened, you know.
Yes. Yep.
Now I guess I would say most of the time in most of humanity's history, especially if you go more than 200 years back, you're likely not gonna find records unless you were really famous. You're not gonna find any records because you most likely had an ordinary life and you won't find anything.
Mhm.
But if it was in the last 200 years, and there was a census, there was a record of there was maybe a tax receipt, maybe there was or when you died, there would be, oh, this person was so and so, and he was this and this old, and he died here.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of record, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so so yeah, I love that. But does he ever is Casey ever able to like help with that? Would he be able to help with that, finding the evidence? Like find not finding the evidence. Let's say if somebody is skeptical, would he able to go in and find the most recent lifetime, the one that's most likely to be found by if somebody were to be hire a PI and then go into personal researcher or something and go in private investigator and go into research. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
I'm going to
No, I love this. This is
yeah.
great. I love it. Yeah, that's right up my alley. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. It's fascinating. Yes, to answer your question.
So he can do that. Wow. But
Yeah.
he cannot maybe
But so
maybe
can you. That's the thing. It's not
well,
about
so can I?
him, right? Everybody can do it. I mean, it's where your capacity is to connect with energy, right? Because everything's energy. Doesn't matter past, present, or future. It's all simultaneously happening, right? So we're all energy. We can tap in anywhere, anytime. If we're that inquisitive and that focused on wanting to learn and know about something, we can ascertain the information. I
Okay.
mean that, and I think a lot of people are really focusing in on that now. It goes far beyond remote viewing, all of those things. It's the desire and the passion that you have in your heart and that coherence of mind heart
Yeah.
connection that opens up and just shoots through so many veils. It's like, the world is your oyster. It's like, okay, it's like being in infinity and being there and being in the all of the nothingness, it's
Right.
like you're in everything. So where would you like to go today? What do you want
How
to
do you do that?
explore?
How do you do that though? I don't know. Like
So for me, so my process is I'm incredibly open as a neutral observer. So I go in with no expectations, no ego, no nothing. I really go in there as a wide-eyed child of like, ooh, what's that? And my
mm,
my questions are, oh, that's, not even like, oh, well, what is this? I never ask, questions that like direct, like, oh, what's that person's name? It's none of that. It's the step-by-step process of observing and then writing down what you're observing, but then connecting the dots as you're going. Because as you connect more and more dots, the more and more open, right?
right.
The more information is evolved right in front of you, and then you understand it at a soul level, because you're traveling through your heart, you're traveling through your whole beingness, but then your intentions are pure and good, and
Mm-hmm.
and it just evolves you. I mean, and I think everybody has the capacity and ability to do that. It's just, are you
It's like
curious or not, you know
is it like a personal regression, like you regress yourself,
So
or
yeah, I mean, yeah. So
or
over
is there
time,
multiple ways you can do that?
there is multiple ways, but I think people find their their way. They find what resonates for them, and the way that I work, it very much resonates with me. But this is, developed over years and years and years of really becoming more and more comfortable with it, but also expanding with it too. And it
Right.
just gets faster and easier and easier and easier as I go.
Right. I
But
have a
the core is I'm still just insatiably curious. I'm just like,
I'm
so that's the force.
you know what, I'm really curious. I'm still going back to the almanac from Back to the Future. I think
Yeah.
there might be some kind of law on the other side about predicting sports events or any kind of things where you can get a monetary reward. Let's say,
Yeah. Well,
is there a
things are
law
shifting like
against it?
this. So how
Oh,
can you predict anything? right?
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
go,
So it's
predict,
not
predict,
set in
predict. Is this going to
stone.
happen? Is that going to happen?
Oh, so it's not set in
It's
stone. So it's not set in
no,
stone. Oh,
no.
I see.
No, no. And that's what I've learned over time because you can predict anything in the future, let's say, right? But anything that you're predicting has a free will. Everything has free will. You have free will. I have free
Right.
will. I could be told, oh, I'm gonna, travel down this path and turn left. And I'm like, I get there, I'm like, I don't want to go left, I want to go right. I mean, we all have free choice. We all have free will. So predicting something, I mean, there's a level of prediction of, if the planets are aligned and there's so much energy
Right.
backed, from that prediction that is moving that information forward, like the hurricane that we just had, like in Florida, right? So you can track it, right? Yeah, okay, it's a 5, but when it hits land, it's going to be, maybe a 4, they said. Well, went down to a
Wow.
3 and then a
Right,
2.
right.
You know what I mean?
So
So
even
it's
that you
it's
can predict. So not
yeah, so
it's
it's, I
like
mean, it's the course, but also what is surrounding it and what's
right.
the energy that is surrounding it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a great quote by economist Thomas Sowell. Nothing is inevitable until it happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that. And that's
Right?
so true, right? I mean, 100%. You could say it's a beautiful day outside, and then all of a sudden there's a hailstorm, until it happens,
Right.
it happens. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, oh, that makes a lot of sense because even if you just take a like a basketball game, there's so many factors and so many people. There's 10 people on the field, and each one has decisions to make all the
Yeah.
time. There's all the
Yeah.
moments where they make decisions to play
Yep.
harder, to play this,
Yep.
to go for
Yeah.
that, to go for
And that's
this.
following the energy, right? So if everybody's like in alignment and they're just on and they're all connected, they're going to win, right?
Right,
If that one person like, scuffs his toe or something happens or his arm or whatever, whoop, I mean, it's just then you're off a little kilter. It's just that you're off a little bit and
right.
that's the way it goes. So, yeah, I believe it's all about alignment. And I mean, that's true to say. What if you wake up one morning and you're just full of energy and you get things done like one after another? And then at the end of the day, you're like, what just happened? That was amazing. The next morning you get up, you're like, I'm going to do the same thing. And you're super tired.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, what happened? What happened? I've done that many a times, it's like wake up at 4 o'clock, I'm going, 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 full energy all day. Next morning, my alarm goes off. I don't hear it. I push snooze and I sleep until 9. You know what I
The-
mean? So it's
right,
like,
right. Does Casey have a recommendation for how to stay more high energy?
yeah, so right, yeah, this was really interesting. So writing these books starting in 2019, I got up at 4 o'clock every morning. It was like clockwork. I didn't need an alarm. My whole body. So, revving up to writing these books in 2017, I had profound experiences in Peru. And I
Mm,
believe and I went through a divorce in that time. I mean, there were so many things that happened in that period of time. It was a buildup of what I was to experience in 2019, writing and receiving all this information and connecting with Edgar and Gladys. But it was, an opening, but also it was, the trajectory that I was put upon, right? And all of a sudden my body was like, let's go. I had so much energy. It was ridiculous. It was like
mm,
every day I wake up at the same time. And I was so regimented and so structured, not even wanting to be structured. It was all of a sudden, I was like, I'm so structured.
mm,
I'm very organized to begin with, but this was different. This was a very different energy. And waking up that early, right before. dawn. I mean, there's that beautiful lull, and a lot of writers talk about it. There's a peak time for writing or writing music, or there's that beautiful. It's so hard to explain, but it's like this like a harmonic. Something's happening in the universe at that precise moment, and all of a sudden, it's just this flow just comes in. And so every morning I would wake up at 4, and I would just sit and I would write and receive and meditate and go into deeper and deeper. And it got to be just a way of life, you know?
Mm,
And then when the books were done and complete, then I had my off time, and then I'd be sleeping in, and it's just it was wild. It was really
right.
interesting. It's very
So,
interesting.
so would you say that if somebody does exercises in your books, then
Mhm.
you're more likely to have more energy and be more in your purpose and be
100%.
more go go?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds
Definitely.
really good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably the one of the best endorsements of your book. You're gonna have more energy. You're gonna be on
Yeah.
more on purpose.
Yeah. Well, it's all about, your soul self, connecting in with your soul self. What is your purpose? What are you discovering? What are you loving to do? What are you
Mm,
creating? What is your mission? It's
yeah,
just solidifying the things maybe that you haven't thought about in a long time, and
right.
it's discovering or rediscovering and re-remembering who you truly are. And when you're in that space, it just blossoms. It's like really self-discovering over again and re-remembering who you truly are and your truth.
Mm,
And it starts shifting so many pieces of your life. I mean, it's not only healing yourself, it's healing your relationships, it's healing your entire life on many, many different levels. And I think it's just such, yeah, it's such great work, and
right.
to be open to it, you know?
How do you
Yeah.
find what purpose? Because I'm still trying to find my.
Yeah.
You said my mission, the
Yeah.
purpose. What is my mission?
Yeah.
Because maybe
Well,
a part of
so
it
when I
is
say
this.
mission,
Yeah,
that's daunting, right? So you take in a little bit,
right.
take a step back and be like, okay, what do I love to do? So this is my cue, and this is where I go back to what is easy for you? A lot of people are like, oh, well, if it's hard, you need to just push through it. No, your purpose is easy, right? So whatever is easiest for you, that's your zone of genius, right? Flow with it. Go with it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It's just,
Mm.
so what is easy for you? Those would be some questions to ask yourself, and think about it and go, ponder the thoughts. Like, what am I really good at? And
That
what
makes
comes
sense.
easy?
That makes sense because
Yeah.
if you think about I'm thinking of a story of a basketball player within the first 20 minutes of him starting training basketball at years 7 or 8 years old, they moved him up
Mhm.
in age because he was so good already. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was so easy for him. They moved him up to he was 8 years old or seven, and they moved him up to kids 10 or 11 years old because he
Yeah.
was just too good already.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at that. What is that?
Right. Like
And he
Luka
probably was like,
Doncic,
oh,
by the way.
okay,
Right.
super easy, but that's the thing. And then you find out and you figure out, okay, that's easy for me. And then you keep going on it and keep going. Sure, maybe you have to tweak a couple
Right.
things here and there, or learn a little more about this and that, so on
Right.
and so forth, right? But you're on that trajectory, you keep going, you keep going. For me, it was writing. I mean, that was my tool. I always loved to write. I always
Mm.
loved to sketch. I always loved to paint, right? It came naturally for me, right? It just flowed. So I kept with it because it truly brought me the most happiness and joy. And that's where the
Mm.
core is, right? So it's like, oh, that does make me happy. So that's the next question. It's like, okay, what's easy for you? And are you happy doing it?
Right.
How are you, what are you feeling? What are you sensing when you're doing something that comes easy for you? Does it
Right.
bring you happiness? Does it make your life easier? Right? So questioning, I love questions because it's you keep questioning yourself when you're in that self-discovery of your
Right. Right.
purpose, let's say,
Yeah, this
you're
is
you're
pretty easy.
asking yourself.
I would say
Yeah.
this is pretty easy for me. I have notes here, but I'm not using much at all.
See that, so for you to have this is super easy and it's very flowing and you can feel it and it's authentic, right?
Right.
This you're on right here. This is
Mhm.
you, right? So deep dive into that even more so, for yourself and discover it like, okay, what parts of it make me happy? So you can even, hone it down.
Right.
What specifically enlightens you or lights you up or lights that other person up, right? Dialogue. There's something about communication, dialogue, the flow,
Yeah.
authenticity, the truth, tackling, issues, maybe taboo issues, maybe this, maybe that. What is that? Where are you in that? What makes you light up? What brings you the most joy? And what is lighting other people up? Because
Mm.
that's the engagement, right? That
Yeah.
beautiful flow of dialogue, of communication, and that's key. What is that other person? What's happening to the other person? It's like right now I'm like so I'm super excited, right? This
Right. Right.
this is flowing. This is working, right? So we just gave an example.
I love
This
it.
is cool. I love this. This is fun. Yeah.
Trine Healing, that's I think this was all was it all like taught to you by Edgar, like every step of the way, or were you healing
Yeah.
before Edgar came into the picture?
Meaning, oh, trying healing, meaning,
Trine Healing,
yeah. So, I think segments of my life started focusing in
mm,
more on. So, I mean, I've always loved healing. I've healed my body several different ways and different times in my
right,
life. So, it's always been a part of me. Um, I started practicing shamanic uh, practices when I was a teenager. I mean, I was led to my first sweat lodge when I was 16.
wow,
I had no map, no phone, no nothing, and I was just listening to my guides. So my guides came in very, very early, and I just really honed in and would trust them. And but it was built over time. I mean, because I'm like, I'm not a person just to pull stuff out of the air. I'm like, oh, I need proof. I need proof.
right,
Left, right brain.
right,
Come on, bring it in. I need proof. But I mean, just trusting what I was hearing and being guided to certain practices and healing modalities and all of those things, learning along the way and then helping other people with them. So I think trying healing is just a compilation of all the years, really. And it's this
mm,
beautiful, you know, um, connection of where everything is connected. And so that's how I piece it together. And yeah, I view it as, this beautiful orchestrated symphony that, just starts playing so well, and
yeah,
just the beautiful flow and you can't predict it. You can't, like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, it
okay.
just happens, right? It just happens over time.
So maybe somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, I don't have or maybe my knee is hurting, and then in the end they'll find new excitement about something, or there'll be new possibility, or maybe there'll be something else unexpected that will happen from the
Yeah.
healing. Does that
Yes.
happen?
Yeah. Yes, all the time. Yeah. And people that come to me and, I don't advertise a lot. It's basically word of mouth. So people will find me and come to me and we'll work together. And you know, it might be a focus of this, and then all of a sudden it's this, and then it encompasses the whole, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just not the knee, it's the relationship, it's this, it's that. And then all of a sudden everything just kind of shifts. And that's the transference of energy that is
Right.
flowing and ripples out to help in all areas of your life.
Yeah. Okay. I always love when I do demonstrations because people can see. Well, I guess we kind of did demonstrations.
Yeah.
We did an exercise. I did an exercise a
That's
little bit.
fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, because I'm curious how Trine Healing looks like. So,
Hmm.
would it be possible to do a small demonstration on something? Do I have to name an issue?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay. I've never talked about this on a podcast, but years ago, when I was really stressed, and there was 2 summers when things were not going well in school, and I
Mhm.
started, and then when I was stressed, what would happen is I would get I think it was, this side, but I would get like a dandruff on my eyebrows because I was so stressed.
A
Yes.
dent?
Then dandruff,
Dandruff. Got
dandruff.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went to the doctor and it would go away, kids could give me a medication. And then the next summer it happened again because it was the same kind of situation that was happening.
Yeah.
Uh and so I was wondering if there's still because there's been times when he has returned a little bit and all that, but
Yeah.
um
So
yeah.
so any kind of flakiness or dandruff or flaking of the skin is an irritant. So like hives or eczema, any of those things, it's an irritant to your skin. So who is irritating you? What in your life were you very stressed but irritated? Like
I think it was
so
with myself
okay.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be a repeat, right? So if it's coming back again, so I would focus in on when it first happened, who were you around? Was it just you, or was there other people involved? And then when it happened again, was there anybody around you, or was it just solely you?
I would say it was 95% me. It was
Mhm.
it's like you know what it is? I had like an inner agreement. I'm gonna do this work for school. I'm gonna do this and this, and then I
Mhm.
didn't do it, and then I didn't
Oh,
do it, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, so what you just said, you just diagnosed yourself pretty much.
Okay.
So what happens in your body, right? So it ties in with the exercise that we did, right? So the constrict to release, right? So what are you doing? You're constricting yourself, you're being hard on yourself, you're saying your internal dialogue like, oh my God, I didn't do this, blah, 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 blah. And all the, past information floods in of all the things you didn't do, right? Blah,
Mm,
blah, blah, right? And that's permeating throughout your whole body. So it's coming out in dandruff, like itching it. That's such an irritant, right? Why is it flaking? That's irritating, right? So
right.
it's coming through. It chose to come through your eyebrow, right? So anytime we have any of those, feelings, those emotions, those internal dialogue, it will come out in your body.
Mm,
It has to, right? There has to be an outlet some way, somehow. And that's our cue of, okay, let's pay attention to this. Why is my body telling me this? Right. So
right.
that's another layer to really focus in again. So when you had tension in your shoulders, it's like take yourself back into that moment. Why is your body reacting like that? Why is the dandruff coming out? Why are you so irritated with yourself, right? Because you set these high expectations. You wanted to uh, really focus on that part of your life and you wanted to ascertain your goal, right? And when
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't, what happened? You felt like you let yourself down. Maybe nobody else thought that, but you yourself felt like you let yourself down, and that irritated you.
Yeah.
And you probably got really pissed off, right?
Well, the
So
other
what,
people then found out about it too, which was yeah.
see, but right there, it's like when we have a dialogue with ourselves and our body tells us everything. And I think it's a disservice not to listen to our body, because our
Right.
bodies are talking to us night and day, right? Night and day. It's showing us what to do. And we have the responsibility to connect in, again, in the book of, my book is Transference, Connect Your Soul Self. It's like connecting in with yourself,
Right.
having the dialogue with yourself, asking yourself those questions. And I think that's where the healing evolves. And it just, the more and more you do it, the more and more you connect, the more and more you'll heal many, many parts of your life. And
Yeah.
it's not relying on somebody else or blaming somebody else or letting the ego run the show. It's like, no, okay, what's happening here?
Right.
Why is that reoccurring in my life over and
Mm.
over and over again? What lesson am I not learning? And then that's not like a, oh, I'm a bad person. No, that's like a challenge, like, ooh, I want to figure this out. Why
Right.
is this loop happening again? So that's how I approach it with, all of my work and all of my internal dialogue and self-discovery within myself. I try not to beat myself up. Yes, I do sometimes, but I really love to get to the core of it. I love to get and see the core with my clients. It's like, what is the core issue? They could
Mm.
be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, nope, that's not it. That's not. And then you get to the core, you're like, that's it,
Right.
you know?
So
So
you
it's,
the Trine Healing is trying to find out what the core issue is and
yes,
then
yeah, yeah,
addressing it.
yeah. We go straight to the core and then we work backwards. So it's really interesting.
Okay.
So, but with this dialogue, it's, so for me, I'm participating, but also as a neutral observer because I already went
Right.
to the core and I can see it and I can feel it, but then allowing you to go through your process, right? So I'm not taking that away from you. It's your
Right. So
process.
I'm still so then I'm still taking responsibility and I'm still,
Yes.
but how would I then change it? What's the last step that I take then?
Mhm. So the result for you would be what? Not,
To
so
not
what
have
would you,
that. Yes.
right? Okay, so that, and then you have to speak it, right? I don't want to have this I don't want to have that anymore. Okay.
I don't want to have this
Right.
dandruff on the
Right.
eyebrow
Right.
issue anymore. Right.
Right. So you determine that, and then your next step would be what?
Um uh, oh well, I guess it would be not to beat myself up and be kind of more easygoing with
Yeah.
myself.
So self-dialogue,
Right.
positive self-dialogue, and to catch yourself when it comes in, because it's not going to happen overnight, right? I mean, sometimes it does, but
Right.
it's just like catching yourself. Ooh, okay, let's talk nicer to myself. And then you're thinking of all your accomplishments that you have accomplished. So
Right.
that's like the reinforcement of I'm pretty amazing. It's like I've done XYZ. I've done this in the past. I'm really good at these things, right? So you're building your self-esteem, your
Right.
confidence, but also it's all of a sudden it starts dissipating, 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 and pretty soon it's gone, and then
What
no more dandruff.
what if somebody's really in a bad way, like they've had a bad life, they're down on their luck, they went down the
Yeah.
tubes, as they say, and then they're like, I can't find anything really redeeming. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe my mother loved me, okay, but it's I've failed in so many things. What would you do in that
Right.
case?
There has to be one thing, right? Even if it's so hard to get to that one piece, there's always one. There's always
Right.
one, right?
Mm,
So it's really honing in on that one. So let's say, my life is complete shambles and, I'm homeless and I don't have food and blah blah blah, but I have a jacket. You'd focus in on that jacket. What is that jacket providing you, right?
right.
Warmth, stability within my body, comfort, all of those things, right? So then you would build upon that one element, right?
When
So,
you
and
do
then,
this, so are
mhm.
you is Edgar Cayce, when you actually in a session, is he advising you, or
Yeah.
this is
Oh, I
just
love this.
this is
So,
just you?
so what that's such a great question. I've had that question many times. It's not like, oh, Edgar's here. It's not, and it's not
Okay.
like, oh, I'm channeling Edgar.
No.
It's not, none of that, right? So through this process, I've learned that it's a merging of the frequencies. It's a merging of the work. It's a merging with it, right? Whatever it is, right? So through my process, it's been this merge over the last several years. So the minute I hold this book or start talking about this book, it's they're here. It's like it's a part of me and it's coming through me. So it's like, I mean, what we just did, I mean, me sitting here, I'd be like, but what's happening? It's the transference of energy and all of it is flowing, right? And there's certain parts that he will like when I'm in research mode, there his energy is like, whoop, you need to go there and find that. I'm like, okay,
Right.
so I'm just this open vessel just listening. So that's my job, right? My job, I kick into, okay, I'm listening now and I'm writing. So that's that mode, right? But with clients or sessions, it's just I'm the neutral reserve, observer, but also receiving and then relaying the information. So
Mm.
that's part of it. I look at and feel it as just this beautiful flow. Like the dynamics of this is
Right.
flowing and it's so easy and it's just, yeah, it's just really easy. So it's not like he just
Mm.
comes in and be like, hi, I'm
Right.
Edgar.
Right.
No, it's just this merge. So to answer your question is it's the beautiful flow of the merge of this consciousness, this
Right.
flowing consciousness.
So now it's never the case that you go there and there's a session and then Edgar takes over because you're
No.
so immersed in the work
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and besides you'd have to go into isn't that your process going to meditation or where
Mhm.
you can be strictly one-on-one with Edgar Cayce. Otherwise, when you're
Yeah,
doing a session, you're not
yeah.
doing that.
No,
You've done the exercises, you
yeah,
have the knowledge and you're coming from that, right?
yes. So, and that was a process. So that's why it took me 4.5 years to even publish the first book. Unbeknownst to me, when I was writing it in 2019, I had no idea what that process would be. And going through it now, looking back, I'm like, oh, that's why. Because now I can just sit here and have it flow effortlessly and it just happens. You know, back a couple years ago, I'd be like, okay, I must write. It's
Right.
total different energy. So I think it's evolved over time and it's evolved through the transference of energy and the transference of knowledge and information. So it's that now. And that's why I can say it's merged because that's how it feels and that's how I can describe it to other people. Um, and a lot of people, oh, are you channeling or, are you a reincarnation of Edgar Cayce? I'm like,
No,
nope.
no.
But it's a great question because, people are baffled. They're like, "Well, how did this happen?" And it's over the years. This is where it's at now. And if you would have asked me several years ago, I don't know. I probably would have been like, I don't know. I have no idea. So
Mm,
it's just the evolution, I think, of how we work and how we are with each other, and I think it's just evolving. It's our evolving consciousness of what we're learning right here right now. That's just so fascinating to me because it's just so beautiful and it's so exciting. So
yeah. Is Edgar Cayce optimistic about where mankind is going? Do you think do you think he
yeah,
thinks
yeah.
he's going in a good direction? It's evolving?
So based on the second book, it's more geared towards children. So there's a lot of exercises within the second book of trusting, like
Right.
deep, deep trust to eradicate kidnappings, to eradicate, trafficking, so very, very focused in on the new children of the new earth, of how well they can hear and sense. It's all sensorial. It's trusting their gut instinct, let's
Right.
say, trusting their intuition. So that as that permeates out into the world, that flow of information and that transference of energy, you know, the children will grow up to be adults and be very mindful, be very conscious, and be very aligned with their truth. So that's the focus of the second and the third book. It's a culmination of all this information, but also it's laying out the foundation of the future
Right.
of, where we can go, if we so choose, right? So we
Right.
can create a beautiful, peaceful, harmonic world. We can create it. It's a possibility, and I strongly believe in that. And even, looking back over the years of how all this information came in and where I am today and how I've evolved and how I've healed my body in variety of different ways and how it's permeating out into my life, my family's life, my friend. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
like, whoa, what's happening? So I, yeah, I just feel it. I'm just getting chills, but
Mm.
I I know we can have a fantastic future if we so choose,
Right.
because again, we all have free will. And, are we going to be living in Atlantis again tomorrow? Probably not, right? But I mean, is that the direction? Do we want peace? Do we want connection? Do we want to evolve? Do we want to trust ourselves?
Yeah, it seems like we are going in a positive direction. Just that a lot of
Yep.
stuff is coming up to the surface now, and that's why it seems like chaos. But I think
Yeah.
it's, I
Yeah.
think I think it will settle down and just be.
Mhm.
Yeah, it takes a while. A summer or a spring doesn't happen in one day. It takes a while to
Yeah.
snow to melt,
Right.
for the snow to melt and kind of just the temperature go up slowly, and
Yeah.
the water to dry up, and then to the earth to dry up and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. It really
Yeah.
does. And to be patient with that time,
Mm.
it's just really working with that time. Utilize time, you
Well,
know.
one small
Yeah.
thing about Trine Healing still before
Yeah.
we wrap this up, because
Hmm.
are you dealing with yeah, we talked about like if somebody has a knee issue, but let's say they have something physical, like more like there's like they cracked their bone or something. Is that the healing still able to heal that faster, the Trine Healing?
Well, it's a matter of, is that person aligned and open? So
Oh, I see.
anybody can
Okay.
hear. So it's where you're at in your life. Are you ready to receive? So, and I'll give you some examples of this because it's a great question. I've had clients in the past that are 100% open and they come to me and they're like, I've tried everything and I don't know what to do, blah, 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 and I'm like, okay, let's go. And they're so open and available to it. It's instant. It's that
Okay.
fast,
Okay.
right? So if somebody comes and they're reserved, not quite sure, it's again, the frequency is meeting you where exactly that you're at, right? It's meeting you where you're at. So yeah, that's how I would answer it. Because I've seen the whole gamut. It's fascinating to me, it
Mm.
really is. It's super, it's such a beautiful way of working. So yeah.
Well, that sounds about a good place
Mhm.
to end this podcast. Do you have any last words to leave with my
I'm
audience?
just, I'm just really, really grateful that I'm here and so grateful that we had this dialogue and this opening, because I know it'll ripple out into your audience and help many people. So I'm just incredibly grateful for that. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
I shouldn't call it my audience. It's our audience. You're on. You're
Our
on. It's
audience.
our
Yeah.
audience. Everybody's audience.
Everybody's audience. No, I love that. No, and it's true. I mean, it is true. So that, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Because you're on, so I'm interviewing you, so it's our audience. And yeah, thank you so much, Corina Angela. Thank you for
Welcome.
being on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you everybody for listening or watching this podcast.